But first, Lady Flowers and the Rector, who I talked to last Thursday at her beer and bangers party. You tend to find at Imperial College that you've got the lecturer on one side of the bench and all the students on the other side. Was this at the back of your mind when you arranged something like the beer and bangers, that students and staff don't mix enough?
Well, I had no idea, quite honestly, to what extent they did mix. But as we have fortunate enough to live in this lovely big spacious house, it's we want to share it. We want to share it with everybody in the college.
Mm-hmm.
Let everyone.
Do you think that staff and students mix enough at Imperial College?
No, they don't. I don't think they do in any London college. It's to do with the fact that people in London live all over the place. London stretches from the point of view of where staff live about 40 miles to the north and 40 miles to the south, and that makes travelling very difficult. And so people don't stay here long into the evening.
It's not also because of the lecturing techniques we have here of having a lecture where you have the lecturer on one side of the bench.
I don't think so. I think that lecturers have a proper part to play where that's the way to handle it, namely the lecturer on one side of the bench and the audience on the other. But of course it isn't good enough, and that's why one has much smaller tutorial groups and things like that.
Study groups, yes.
Yes.
I see. What's your impression of the Imperial College student as a whole? What do you think he's socially like?
I think he's socially quite indistinguishable from anyone else who takes life to the full and is reasonably serious about his motivation.
Being a science student, it doesn't alter him in any way. There's a lot of criticism of Imperial College students because they're said to be apathetic. I mean, you don't find a lot of political societies at IC. If you go to LSE, you'll find a lot of left-wing extremists, particularly at places like Warwick University. But you don't at IC. Is
I
this
find a
because
lot
of
of
that?
right-wing extremists here instead, perhaps.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, the Conservative Society isn't. I haven't heard of it being very active recently.
No, I think it's perfectly true that scientists and technologists or medical students or lawyers or other people who are reading for professional qualifications, as distinct from just taking politics or sociology or economics just to pass the time away, find less time for other serious pursuits.
Do you think that this kind of occasion helps you get to know the average student better?
Oh yes, of course it does. It's also useful, but although this is not why we do it,
No.
because it enables us to find out what students are bothering about. I mean, last year, for instance, almost all the women students who were at one of these parties was very much concerned about changes in the abortion laws, and we all talked about that.
But there again, this average student, which I've kept mentioning, do you think it's the average student which comes to this kind of thing?
Well, that I don't know. I suppose not.
It required a positive act to come.
Yes, it requires a positive act to
give your
come
name
because you have to put your name on a list.
That's right, yes.
So I presume the people who come are either those who are very curious to find out what the rector's house is like, or are those who are particularly sociable, or something of the sort. So it's not the average cross-section, of course.
No, one of the things I did notice was that there were a large number of ladies here.
Well, I think you mean student ladies.
Student ladies, yes. In a
well,
college where the ratio is 12 to 1.
Exactly. But then on the other hand, you've got to consider it in the light of a party, and you don't want that ratio to apply to a party, do you, really?
Oh, no, sure.
But this is done entirely on a random basis. It's handled through the union, and it may be just that girls like this sort of thing more than chaps do. I don't know.
Okay, thank you both very much indeed. Scenes there from the Beer and Bangers last Thursday.